Hi, Russ here. Hey, welcome back to my shop. Today I want to talk about my table saw setup. 15 years ago, first I got to tell you a little bit about the history of this. 15 years ago I bought a rigid contractor saw, and I built 3 cabinets, one to hold the saw and one to put on each side of it. The one had a bank of drawers in it and the other one had a router, so I had a router table and I just set them up. One on each side. I put lifting casters on the 2 end cabinets so I could lift the whole thing up and roll it around. And I had this nice 7-foot long surface for doing table saw and router work. And I'm very happy with it. And after about 3 years ago though, I did something really dumb. I looked at Craigslist. Yes, and I found a saw on there, a table saw. I wasn't looking for one, but I went and looked at this. It was about 15 minutes away from where I live. The guy had passed away, and they were trying to get rid of the table saw in his basement. It was this unisaw out of the 70s or the 80s. Very classic, older saw. Real workhorse. He had a Beastmeyer fence on it, and he converted it to 110 volt from 220 to run, which was perfect because that's what I use here is 110. I don't use my 220. So the original one with this, I was very happy with it. I had the Incra fence system on it, and everything went smoothly. When I bought this with this Beastmeyer fence, 52-incher, I realized I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the old table saw, and figuring out that I couldn't get much for it, I finally said, well, I'm just going to keep it. And so what I ended up doing is, with this Beastmeyer fence system, it's 27 inches from the back to the front on both this saw and this saw. And so that means that I took this fence system and I took this table saw, the second one, and I put it right up next to this one. Put levelers on all 4 corners so I could raise it to get it on the same plane as my original saw, so I can take my fence and it just works on both of them without any problem. I put a 1/4-inch dado stack in that secondary table now, and that stays in there all the time. If I want to hog out material, I just go over to that one, use that to hog out material. It goes much faster than it does on a regular table saw blade to hog out material. And then on this saw, what I did was I put a 7 1/4, 1/16 inch kerf 42 blade, just a standard circular saw blade. Combination blade. I buy the decent ones for about 10 to 12 bucks a piece, and once a year, twice a year, I have to change it out, either because I hit a nail or because it just, after a while they wear out like anything does, and it costs me about 12 bucks every time I change it, so it's dirt cheap. I don't even sharpen them and try to continue using them. I guess I should, but I have better things I'd rather do. So that's what I did. And so now I use this saw for 95% of my regular cutting, and I use that saw when I want to hog something out. And they all work off the same fence system. The 16-inch blade, the only disadvantage to it is the height of your cut. Instead of going to like 3 1/4 inches, I think, on a regular 10-inch blade, this thing does just a hair over 2 inches. So I can still cut up to a 4-inch board, thick board, and just by using the cut and flip method. But what I think I did find out about this is that when you're cutting into a piece of hardwood and it's not coming out the top, with this blade, it cuts through like butter still. It doesn't get hot, it just keeps cutting as you're pushing it through without any problem. And so I found that cutting heavy wood, hardwood, on this saw blade really is much better. Whether I'm cross-cutting or ripping, doesn't matter. This blade works much better than a 10-inch, 1/8-inch thick blade. And so after I finally figured out how much better it works, I actually keep that 7 1/4-inch blade on this thing 95% of the time. I almost never have to change it. It's always been adequate. So anyway, this thing has a couple other advantages too. It does not bind or kick back like a regular table saw blade does. Being a smaller kerf and a smaller blade on height, that it can't grab the wood like a regular table saw blade does for kickback or binding. And I've never had a kickback or binding situation, even the hint of it, ever since I went to this blade. I still am very careful of how I do my cuts. I don't do anything but I would consider stupid, but I find that the thing does much better on cutting as a result. And also, if I want to resaw, this thing actually works very well, because all I have to do is I take my fence, set it up right where I want it, lock it down, and if I want to take, like, let's say a board that's 8 inches thick or 8 inches wide, but I needed a 1/4 inch panel off of it, I just take it, put it on here, take my gripper, set it on the table surface, and hold it against the fence. Now I can push this through, cut it, turn it 90 degrees, cut it, and do that on all 4 sides. And I now have a 2-inch kerf, a 2-inch deep kerf all the way around on this board. I can take this over to my bandsaw now without even using the fence and cut this off, and I come out with a 1/4 inch piece. And for the center of it, I just can either run it through my planer real quick to flatten it back out, or put it on my table saw on my bench and grab my hand plane and plane it down flat. So just that easy, I can take a big board using my small blade. I can make a resaw cut extremely easy now. That saw doesn't work half as hard as it used to when I used to try to cut this. So using this blade for resawing is actually pretty good too, because your kerf is so small, the bandsaw blade still fits in there, and you got that little bit of fudge factor, and you can just plane it out when you're done, so you have a nice flat board to the dimension you want without any real hassle of trying to cut it on the resaw it on the bandsaw only. So I've learned to use this saw blade, utilize it better than anything I've ever done before, and I really like it. So anyway, one last thing I want to show you, and that is dust collection. Because I have 2 table saws and a router table here all together, what I did for dust collection is they all have their own dust collection port. This one's on the front. On the dado saw, it's on the back behind, so I run a flex cable up here, and this is my dust collector hose. I just have a single hose going up to the dust collector, and I can put it on that saw. If I needed to put it on this saw, I just pop it off, and I now plug it on this saw, so this one's on dust collection. And my router has its own dust port also. So the hose can be hooked up instantly to any of them, and I keep my dust collector switch right here so that when I'm in this area, I can turn my dust collector on and off instantly. So it makes doing dust collection on these pretty passive at the same time. So that's how I have my table saw set up. I have a dedicated sled for my dado stack here, so that if I want to do cross-cutting type of stuff, I can use that with my dado blade. And I have my Incra 5000 set up for this table saw and this blade, so that I can do that kind of cuts and do angle cuts with it without any problem. So it's a very good setup. I really like it, and it seems to be able to do anything I want to do, and then some. So, well, anyway, that's my table saw setup. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you like this video, please say so. And if you know somebody else that might like one of these ideas, you can show this to them. Maybe they might pick up 1 or 2 ideas of how I did it and use it in their saw. The 16 inch, 7 1/4 inch blade alone is actually, I think, it's worth trying, even if you have only 1 saw. You'll find yourself probably using that thing a lot once you start doing it. But that's up to you. Anyway, I appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you'll come back again for the next video, and we will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.